Okay, today's talk has nothing to do with pink houses. Yes, it does. The John Mellencamp song Pink Houses in particular, and maybe we'll talk about band as well. Okay, so what do we want to talk about with Pink Houses? Pink Houses was a song about that's basically the American dream, where all Americans can have their own pink house with a white picket fence in front of it. What's happened to the American dream? I don't know. I haven't been to America in a very long time. What else do we know? We know that in neighboring Canada, the pink house dream for all Canadians, maybe it's a dream, but it's nowhere near going to work in Canada. Basically, what you have in Canada are the elite people in every community who have their own house. And then what they do is they look at other houses as investment opportunities. So all the elite people get together and have a bidding war when little pink houses come up. And they bid up the price to the highest bidder's price. And that is the new price of a little pink house. And then what happens? Well, the person that's buying this pink house has no intention of living in it. They want to rent it out to renters. So, what's wrong with that? Well, the thing is that those renters really need a house of their own pink house, not one that's rented. And they can't buy into it because they cannot get in a bidding war with the elite of the community to own this house. They just don't have the deep pocket money. So once again, I have to condemn our economic system that is based upon, well, in the olden days, the problem was might is right. In other words, if you were a great big person with great big ham-sized fists, you would get your way because you could bully everybody else by force. But in today's world, we don't really use our fists. What we use is our money. Money is a bullying tactic used by the elite to, turn everyone else into a slave. Because if you're a renter, then you are a slave. You have to continually pay your rent money. Well, the thing is, somebody's going to say, well, they didn't want to, put a nest egg away and buy. No, they don't have an opportunity because they're paid minimum wage at the coffee shop or the retail store or many other jobs that don't pay enough to compete with doctors, lawyers, business owners, and people with great inherited wealth. What does it mean? It means we have a problem because the average Joe doesn't even have a union job anymore because the elite exported all the jobs to China because apparently our wages were too high in Canada. But it's a great hollowing out of the communities of Canada, a hollowing out. And then what happens is that the Chinese do the same thing in their market. The elite go and have these real estate wars. And then a lot of those elite people take their money and then they bring it to Canada. And in addition to the local elite, you have the Chinese elite bidding up the prices of housing in Canada so that the working class cannot afford a little pink house. What do you want to do about it? I want to get rid of money as a system because it is a bullying system on a great deal of humans. So, I don't know. What else do I want to talk about? What about band? What do I want to talk about? Do I want to talk about musical bands? I want to talk about Indian bands. No, I want to talk about what is banned, as in forbidden. What is forbidden is to talk truth. It's forbidden to talk truth. Why? Because every time I want to speak my truth about anything to do with racial injustices. I get the feeling that well, if you watch this channel, I tell you anyway, but I still have my spirit guides. I have spirit guides, and when I want to talk about things that are bothering me that have racial overtones, they always say, if you say this, you're going to sound like you're a white settler. That's the name for white people among the Indigenous people in Canada. There's a huge race war going on in Canada. What does it mean? Well, we have what we call apples, which are Indian people, Indian on the outside, and white people on the inside, just like an apple. Why do I say that? That sounds racist. I'm just describing the situation because I meet some of these people, not all people who are Aboriginal or Indian are apples, but there are apples. Don't kid yourself. There are apples, and they are just the same as a white settler. They're capitalistic in nature, and they're kind of people who, if they can get money, they're going to buy up all the little pink houses and rent them out. And, so why do I put it out there? Well, it's because I've met these ones. And quite often, these ones play the game really well because they're Aboriginal on the outside. They want all the benefits that come with having a treaty card, which is not paying sales tax on your car, for example. And just, being able to use that as a wedge to say, to someone who looks like me, you're wrong just because you're white. That's what they do. They say, you're wrong because you're white. You came as part of white settlement. And, you're a second-class citizen in my eyes. What else do we want to talk about with bans? What else do I want to talk about when it comes to the racial issues in Canada? The racial issues in Canada are mostly to do with divide and conquer. Who is being divided? It's poor people of every color are fighting amongst each other. They're fighting amongst each other. Why? Because the elites are laughing. It's like none of you poor white trash or poor of any other color can afford this. And what we do is we set up this big shit show of your color versus the other people. You fight amongst each others, but your real enemy is the elite. The other thing that we have are, you got apples. I told you what an apple is. And then what you've got is a lot of let's go with white. I don't know what other colors. Perhaps there's other colors, but, Canada used to be a white-colored country primarily once the colonial white settlers came through. So I'm still going to go with that, but it's not true. Like in major cities like Toronto or Vancouver or Montreal, it's totally a smorgasbord of different colors. But what I hear in my town is white settler is the name. So we'll go with that. And some of the white settlers have listened to the story of the Aboriginal and have come to really side with the Aboriginal side of the story to the detriment of themselves. Because I see these white people who have given away their own human right to exist. Some people might say allies of these Aboriginal people. I don't say them, I see them as if there's someone who's Aboriginal, they're allowed to talk. I've seen this on some of these message boards. If you're Aboriginal, you're allowed to talk. But if you're the wrong color, white, even if you're a white ally, they give you a list of things that a white ally can and can't do, can and can't say. It's slavery. Mental slavery. You have made yourself a slave to someone who's of a different color, who won't accept you as an equal human to human. And these people buy into it. They buy into the idea that I'm the wrong color, so I must be wrong. And these other ones who are of a different color, they've got their story. I got to buy into it. I got to bow down to their story. And they do it. Somebody wants to say it's like an Uncle Tom in the United States. And I'm not really an expert on Uncle Tom. I don't think it is. And Uncle Tom is, I think, someone who was a black person who bought into the white overlord slavery system. But I could be wrong, and I'm going to tell you the truth. It's not relevant. Why isn't it relevant? It's because it's not buying into the white settlers rule. They don't rule. It's in theory, a democracy where one human gets one vote. This is the problem. When you have 3,100 belong to this tribe in British Columbia, Wet'suwet'en. I don't know if I pronounce it, probably not. But Wet'suwet'en, I'm going to say, is 3,100, because I looked it up on Wikipedia, 3,100 people. And their elected chiefs said, let's go for this pipeline. And their hereditary chief said, no. And they set up a protest. And then we have a whole pile of Canadians who say, well, what's this all about? And they never get this number, 3,100 in the whole group. 3,100, and I don't know how many are on the side of the elected chiefs and how many are on the side of the hereditary chiefs. But it seems to me ludicrous that a country as large as Canada, with millions and millions of people, is held hostage because the trains in Canada aren't running. People are being laid off. There are huge ships outside of the harbors of Canada that can't unload their goods. They're probably Chinese-made goods that I've already told you was, problem. But that's a sidebar. But the whole country is coming to a standstill because of an argument among 3,100 people in some small community of British Columbia. That's what it is. Millions of people. And this 3,100 member group that can't seem to decide as a group what is it really what you want to say. Because that's what it is. You've got one group of this Wet'suwet'en that say, we want this pipeline, and another group that don't. And how many are in each of these camps? I don't know. It's simply ridiculous. In fact, it's ridiculous for 3,100 people to have a vast tract of ancestral land in British Columbia that's theirs. This is the way it's set up by Canadian courts. We were here first. No, you weren't. I've talked about it previously. You didn't exist back in the time of the white settlers when they really came in. You were born in the last 100 years. So all you've got is your stories of your ancestors, and they're horrible stories, granted. They're horrible stories. But look at the story of World War II, or the Napoleonic Wars, or the wars among the different indigenous people of North and South America before Christopher Columbus. There was plenty of stuff. I talked just a day or two ago about the Quetzalcoatl people, Mayan or Aztec, that chopped off people's heads for religious ceremonies, and then they kicked around the severed heads as soccer balls. So it wasn't like North and South American people weren't barbaric. They were just as barbaric as the Europeans and the people in the Far East. Generally speaking, humans were humans wherever they were. So if you're holding on to this story about what happened to previous generations in order so that you can get a vast tract of land for your group of 3,100, well, the Canadian courts have wishy-washy on it, but kind of nodded their head, sure. And I'm going to tell you the truth. The truth is 3,100 people don't need that much land. Why? Because there's millions and millions of other people in this Canadian group who don't have any land at all. The ones I'm talking about, the little pink houses people that have to rent. And if they're not Aboriginal, they were born with brown or black or poor white trash or oriental looking colored, they don't have no Aboriginal claim to the land because they don't have the right skin color, and their family story is a different story. But they can't afford even a little pink house. And this is what the whole thing about 3,100 Wet'suwet'en in British Columbia is all about. They want a vast tract of land. Land is a huge issue all over the planet. Why? Well, because we all know why we need land. But, redistribution of the land, yes, we need a major redistribution of the land. And then we're going to not have no more ownership based upon I inherited it, the color of my skin, or how much money I've got in my bank account. We're going to share the land. We're going to steward the land. And you have to watch out for right-wing Republicans because they'll go with this. And what they want to do is take all of the other humans that aren't super billionaire class Republican and put them into FEMA camps, which are like basically the Borg in Star Trek. They want to jam you into ghetto cities. And then the right-wing Republicans want all the land to go to wilderness so that they can go and hunt on it because they're rich and they can buy the permit. So don't buy into that garbage either. It's very tricky because humans are incredibly cunning and very selfish. So in the end, if you're Aboriginal and you're watching my video and you don't agree with me, well, make your own video and, send me a link or something and I'll comment on it. But the truth of the matter is, I cannot see any way that we can go back to the past. Because it is always somebody owns this property and the sign says, keep out. And that's not fair. So, that's my talk about bans and little pink houses. I'm Gaston Gingras of Quebec province in Canada. Oh, one more thing. We don't understand how to get from here to there because we can't seem to get any leadership from the elected government of Canada. We elected a jackass snowboard instructor because he was kind of pretty and we hated his predecessor. I can't go on.